No, we're going to do this again. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
As was said, I was teach for 17 years, so I know mornings can be rough for young folk and for some of us veteran folk as well. So we definitely want to get the day started off right. I would like to take a moment and introduce our panelists here. They are seniors from the Leadership Training Institute at John F. Kennedy High School, and I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves and future aspirations that they have.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Chris Herrera, and I'm a senior at John F. Kennedy High School. At John F. Kennedy High School, I'm very involved. I'm a part of the Leadership Training Institute, as well as the IB Diploma Program, National Honor Society, Minority Scholars Program, and also the founder of a group called Youth of Health, which advocates and promotes for wellness and health in youth and encourages them to create change in their own communities. When I grow up, I plan to go to college, and although I'm pretty undecided about what I want to go into, I want to stay in the realm of activism and like social justice. Some things that are important to me are my academics, my family, social justice, and activism in general. So I think when I go into college, I'm probably going to experiment and maybe go into something like sustainability studies, public health, maybe even international affairs. It's all up in there.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christian. I am 17 years old, and like Mr. Francois said, I'm a senior at John F. Kennedy High School, and I'm a part of the Leadership Training Institute. I'm also involved in the school. I'm in Key Club, and I like to participate in all events, like when we have food drives or just to help the community out. Basically, a little bit about me is I grew up in a rough neighborhood, low-income neighborhood, where kids only have two choices: either working their behind off to earn money to survive, or end up in illegal activities that gets them in a life of incarceration. My future aspirations, well, based on how everything's been going, I plan on being a professional athlete in Mexico, and thank you to the Lord. I have been blessed with an opportunity to go over there, so I came today to speak to you. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Cameron Carnegie McLeod. I am also, like the both of them, a senior at John F. Kennedy High School, and I have been a part of the Leadership Training Institute since my freshman year. And outside of school, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm always in DC. I love to attend Nationals games and Wizards games and everything of that sort. Sports give me an outlet from education. Although I love my education, I really love to do things outside of school, such as sports, but they also lead me to my further goals when I go into college. Next year, I plan to go into college, and I plan to major in sports management. And with that, with majoring in sports management, I want to combine my two passions for working with children and then fitness. So after I exit college, graduate college, I plan to open a business that incorporates children and sports, and I plan to open a business that allows them to achieve any fitness goals that they have and access any sports and attain any skills, because I know sports are a great outlet to children, such as they've been for me. So I plan to make a difference in the generation coming up next in the fitness environment.
Hello everyone, my name is Tim Katsindig. In school I'm involved in a lot of leadership positions. I'm student government, I'm Key Club treasurer, I'm a minority scholars task force leader, and I also co-founded Youth of Health with Chris and some other folks, and I'm also part of the Leadership Training Institute. Next year I want to major in political science, get into law, do something about public policy, anything that really creates change in the environment. So, yeah.
Hello, my name is Truman Necker, and I'm a part of the LGI. I'm involved with the National Honor Society. I am a not sure what I'm going to major in, but I'm going to probably go towards public policy or activism wherever I go. And I enjoy teaching people about technology and helping the people with that.
So now that we've met our panel, first question to the group. What does children's environmental health mean to you? And as you're explaining, how does it impact you and your family?
When I think of children's environmental health, one question comes to mind. Are children living a healthy life that can be physically, mentally, socially, in the environments that they are present in? Now, I think there are two categories that every environment can fall under. The first is the more global and general environment, and I think only one environment goes under that category, and that's the natural environment, so our environment, the biosphere, the environment that every living thing on this planet shares. And I think that the second category of environments is the ones that are more localized and personalized to every single person. So these environments, environments that fall under this one include someone's household, the school they attend, the neighborhood they live in, and even the country they live in. These are environments that are personal to people, and the experiences that they share can be with others in that community. So I think health is crucial in all environments, but there are problems that may arise in every single one of those environments. Like in a child's household, there may be a dysfunctional family, or there may be an abusive parent. In a child's neighborhood, there may be drug abuse, or there may be gang activity. In a child's school, there may be low funding, which leads to a decreased quality of education, or there may be something like bullying. There are all problems within local environments of children, which I believe are possible to address and solve. The next set of problems are on a global scale. These problems affect everyone on the planet and revolves around the natural environment, global warming and environmental degradation. These are two major causes of the smaller but still deadly problems that everyone faces: unstable weather patterns, deadly natural disasters, and an increase in global temperatures, even the extinction of wildlife. These are all problems that affect everyone, including children, and that I believe are more difficult to solve but not impossible to be worked towards. As to how children's environmental health affects me, like I said before, I think health is crucial in every environment that one is present in. I need to be healthy in all of my environments. Everyone in this room needs to be healthy in their own environment, and as do children. They need to be healthy in the environments that they live in every single day. I have children in my family, in my household. I have 2 little cousins, and I think about their health in every single one of the environments that they're present in every single day. Are they living a healthy life at home? Are they getting a good education at school? Is the neighborhood that we live in safe for them? The same goes for the children of our generation. So thinking into the future, if I have any children, do I have to worry about how the environment that we're setting, do we have to worry about how that's going to affect them in the future? We need to think about them and how our actions will affect the children of the future. Due to all of this, I make sure that I stay active and continue to be an activist in my own community and just try to create as much change as possible.
Children's environmental health has multiple definitions, but for me, based on how I grew up, it means the surroundings of a child as they are growing up, such as the neighborhoods, the parks, the people, and the schools. Growing up, I witnessed a lot in my neighborhoods. It was either hang with the bad kids or get beat up by the bad kids. So I made friends with all of them. Every now and then, when we were playing, we would see things like thugs walking around throwing gang signs, selling drugs, and at some points even getting altercations and getting fights. A typical day for me and my friends would be going out to the neighborhood, playing at the park, and just seeing another neighbor get arrested. Growing up this way helped me a lot because I realized living in poverty and attending the schools and areas around poverty, it means that some adults, like teachers, they don't really pay attention to the kids. But what I mean by that is, they don't really put in the effort that some other teachers in like high-income neighborhoods will put in the kids. I've witnessed a lot, like for example, I've witnessed teachers tell kids, you're not gonna be something in life. And just because we're people of color or people that don't have enough money to be in those schools where they're well funded, it's heartbreaking, and growing up through that, it helped me a lot because it made me the person I am today. When I was young, when I saw teachers tell kids that they'll never be nothing, it would just show me like how much hope they have for the kids, like for the future, and it made me work harder. And that's why I started working hard, and I ended up, well, not yet, sort of, I ended up being a success story from a neighborhood like that. And that's why with everything I have going on, like with me going to Mexico and possibly signing a contract to play in a professional sport on TV, that's like everyone's dream. I'm going around these neighborhoods and I'm speaking to all the kids and telling them that there is someone, that even if their teachers aren't gonna put their full potential in them, that they still have the opportunity to be great. And yeah.
Children's environmental health to me means two aspects. And the first aspect, since I'm so into fitness and sports and health, would be fitness, that aspect. I believe that all children deserve an equal access to a fitness outlet, or not, if it's not a gym, like a playground, at least something where they can go outside and play. When kids start playing sports at a young age, or even running around, walking outside with their family, anything, it decreases the likelihood of health conditions in the future when they grow older, such as strokes and like high blood pressure and even depression. Going outside and playing is a sign that, like, you know, freedom for a kid. And I also believe that getting a child involved is a physical attribute that can be tackled through rebuilding playgrounds. And also, one thing that I'm so passionate about is opening gyms or recreational sports that are not overpriced, that allow kids to play a sport. I think all recreational sports teams should be low cost or no cost, that can allow every single child, no matter where they come from, as Christian was saying, or how they come from, that allows them an access to sport and to grow into something, even if they don't want to play sports in a professional league, just allows them that access. So I believe in that for my first aspect. And for my second aspect, I believe that water source is one of the most important aspects that a child could have. Every single human being, no matter a child or an adult, is entitled to a water source, and it is a human right. And rights are often taken away through contaminated water throughout the whole country and throughout the whole world. Such as lead poisoning and just pollution in the water. So I believe that we can reduce the contamination in water by less pollution. Of course, that's number one. Throwing away your trash in the trash can, not just throwing it in the lake or anything like that. I also believe that, both of these aspects affected me as a child, because I feel that I was blessed. I had a good water source. I was able to play recreational sports, but other children aren't able to that outlet, and I feel like that's unfair. This affects my family because I have family in Michigan where the water source is not well, and I don't think it's fair that children are going to school with a poor water source. The water fountains aren't working, or even the water in their house they can't drink from because it's contaminated, and I don't believe that's fair, and I think there needs to be a change.
So children's environmental health means to me, means that it's helping young people, which starts from the foundation, which is through the children, and prevents them to have illnesses through the harmful chemicals, pollution, and water contaminants. How it affects me, in my local high school, with the group I co-founded with Christopher, we worked on an issue with the water fountains in our school. We had 25 water fountains, and only half of them worked, and only one tasted great. Tasted like, something that you can drink. And we worked to resolve this issue. We did some research. Chris did a lot of research. For example, 46 out of 96 elementary schools in Montgomery County have elevated lead water, and that's ridiculous. Like that shouldn't be happening, especially within our children. What else? Okay, so after working with them through this project, we set up a meeting with the head of management, maintenance, the head of maintenance, and our principal. And the following year, we got the water fountains. So this. So we worked really hard on this. Because especially for teens, for youths, it's hard to get adult allies. But we really worked hard. We spoke professionally. We came with the right stance towards our authority within our principal and the head of maintenance. And yeah, we got them, and there's 4 more coming. We're just excited to work within our community and help benefit our local high school.
Children's environmental health means me is having a safe environment for children to foster and grow in a household that is stable and not in long term, not having hard, not being in a rent, shelter or other living arrangements that are temporary. Being fortunate enough to grow up in a healthy environment has allowed me to realize how important it is to have a good education and grow up in an environment where you can grow and thrive and learn and thrive and be able to go out and explore the neighborhood and be safe without having to be with a parent or being. Children are important to us in that we should pay attention more to them and allow them to speak up more and
So as students in Montgomery County Public Schools and as seniors, and Christian spoke about him being a success story, and I would argue that all of you all and everyone here today, we are examples of being successful. What issues would you look at trying to tackle or solve as regards to children's environmental health?
So the issue that I would love to address is the huge, threatening, and very prevalent issue of climate change. It affects everyone, including children. Like I said before, climate change brings the various problems of unstable weather patterns, increasing global temperatures, and the very horrific natural disasters that are occurring to this day. These are all very dangerous to children and have already affected them in some ways. The natural disasters destroy children's homes and leave them with nothing in some cases. The unstable weather and climate patterns, which include the boiling summers and very frigid winters, these affect the child's life by, one, limiting their time outdoors, because they would probably have to take shelter in these very harmful weather conditions, which can in turn affect their physical health because they won't be able to be playing outside. And it can also affect their mental health, like Cameron said, that you really can, if you stay indoors, you really can get depressed. Like, you should be going outdoors as a child especially. And it also brings the possibility of increased risk of medical problems, like Cameron said again, stroke, and like all these heart diseases. The first approach that I would take towards solving this issue is affecting policy. I think policies to combat climate change are not very strong or effective right now, and there needs to be more. They're very lacking in our country. We need our governments to make it a priority, as climate change it's like a ticking time bomb for this earth. Like, it's just slowly deteriorating our earth. These policies need to address the way we as humans have negatively influenced our environment. That is in the form of environmental degradation. Humans pollute the water and the air and deplete the limited natural resources that this earth holds. Policies to limit things like deforestation and pollution, and in general to protect and preserve our natural environment are needed right now. The second approach to addressing this issue of climate change is the creation of sustainable environments. Sustainable homes, schools, cities, and countries. The creation of sustainable environments will help with energy resources by switching to more natural resources like wind and solar powered energy. It'll help with reducing our carbon footprint by creating a plethora of green spaces, greenhouses maybe, with many plants that will hopefully take the place of all the trees that have been cut down to absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It can even be beneficial to our own health by growing our own food. We know where the food is coming from, it's healthy food, and it's just very important. Sustainable societies will help meet the needs of our modern human society without depleting the Earth's resources at the same time, which will help our society grow as a whole. Like Tim said, we've worked within our group Youth Up Health to bring these water fountains to our school, which is one of the problems that is connected to climate change. You know, it's the environment which is getting degraded, and I just want to continue to try to affect policy and eventually try to create these sustainable environments that I think are very important for society.
Well, the main issue I would like to address is the issue simply of how the county and like government leaders, how they separate money and how they pay attention to just high-income students instead of paying attention to those neighborhoods and those schools in the low-income neighborhoods. I think it's a big problem because as kids younger than me, they're the future. They're going to be the doctors that see us when we get old. They're going to be the teachers that teach our grandkids or our kids, and we should take care of them and help them the same way we had someone help us when we were growing up. And so what I'm doing is I'm going around, I'm getting contacted by teams I used to play for, and I'm going around to elementary schools I used to attend and middle schools, and I'm talking to these kids as a guest speaker, and as I said, simply telling them that they aren't alone and they need to really strive because they have the potential to be someone great even if someone doesn't believe in them or someone has low expectations for them. And it can happen because anything can happen, nothing's impossible. And if we help out these kids and the government leaders start paying attention to everyone instead of just a specific group of kids, maybe the world will be a better place and our children's environment will be such a better thing.
So I plan to address 2 issues regarding children's environmental health. In the future, as I said in the beginning, I plan to open a business that allows children to come in, such as a gym, and master any skill. So I plan to do that in the future, and I will do that in the future once I graduate college and start to do that. So I will do that. But right now, if I could address one issue regarding children's environmental health, I would address the water source in cities that are being impacted by contaminated water. And what I'm doing to address this issue is I have been assigned a senior project and through the LTI program. And for my project, I am raising money to donate over 100 cases of water bottles to Flint, Michigan. And how I plan to raise this money, I plan to raise this money through community fundraisers, community awareness, and also like GoFundMe's and just letting our name known in the community and the cause. The water contamination with Flint, Michigan has been going on for 4 years and it's ongoing, and that's personally just not fair, and I feel like I need to step in because over here in Maryland or DC, we have nice water, but over there it's not fair, and I feel like if no one's willing to help, I should be, well not no one, but I should be one of those people that's willing to help them. So what we're planning to do is we're planning to, with the money, order over 100 cases of water bottles and donate them to the Food Bank of Eastern Michigan, and they collect food and water bottles that from like superstores that are damaged and they can't be sold. But I feel like if you're giving them away to people in the community, it shouldn't be, since nobody wants this, you should have it. It should be, I'm giving this to you because you need it and you deserve it. So with the water source, I know that the average person needs to drink over 8 glasses of water a day, and that is 4 water bottles a day. And an average family can't afford to buy water for 4 water bottles per person. And kids need water to take to school. After gym class, they need water. If the water in the school can't be drinking, they need to have water, and I think that's very important. So donating this water will hopefully give the families a little bit, relief in their expense for water, and I know it won't last forever, but I do plan to continue this issue since it's so important to me, and I want to make a difference in the water situation one city at a time. So I know starting with Flint, Michigan is very important, but I know there's other countries and other cities that are also going through this that shouldn't be ignored, since although Flint, Michigan has been going on the longest, we can't ignore the cities that still have this issue. So that's how I plan to make awareness to this cause. Thank you.
So throughout fulfilling the water project within our school through our group Youth of Health, I became really passionate about helping anything with any environment or any communities, especially similarly to Cameron's issue, but more specifically within my local community, which is Montgomery County. So with the 46 out of 96 elementary schools that have elevated water, I really want to work towards fixing these issues through the General Assemblies that Montgomery County has, to speak as a student and speak as a voice to those who are too young to see what's happening around them. And some of the research we went through with the EPA, on the EPA website, we saw that elevated lead water can cause children to have learning disabilities, behavior problems, and slow growth. And especially for children to have these things happen to them, these negative effects, negative things happening to them, it's a lot more difficult because you can't change that. Like that's something that's always going to be there, and if we fix this problem without them having to go through it first, it would never happen in the first place. So it's starting from the foundation, going with the children, fixing these policies so no other problems come later in the future. So, yeah.
One issue I could address regarding children's environmental health would be to helping the victims of natural disasters like Hurricane Florence or Hurricane Michael. I'm doing my OTI senior project. I'm doing fundraising for Hurricane Florence relief efforts, since there are so many families that lost their homes to flooding and terrible winds that were exacerbated by climate change. The people that are affected are living in shelters because their homes are probably flooded out and condemned, or they're just blown away. children cannot go to school because they're flooded in, or they're just trying to piece together what happened and just trying to rebuild from their damage. The elementary schools students lose time in foundational learning, and then meanwhile high schools, they are losing their precious time to prepare for college, which is hard for all. My group is donating to an organization called Operation USA, which focuses on helping with setting up long-term education and helping with fixing all the damage from natural disasters.
So from each one of you all, we heard various ways in which you would tackle the issue of children's environmental health. As we come to a close, I'm gonna start with Truman first. There are a variety of organizations that your group could have chosen. What made Operation USA the most viable option in terms of whom to donate to?
My group did research to find the group the charity group that donated the most, that the donation would go, the most percent would go to the actual people that are receiving the money instead of just the organization. And Operation USA was 91% of the funds go directly to the people that are affected by these natural disasters.
To Chris and Tim, you spoke of how you were able to get water refill stations, at least at Kennedy High School, so that our audience can kind of better understand, in general, what was probably the time frame in terms of, I guess, when you began these meetings with the principal and the building service manager to the actual seeing the first refill station?
So we conceptualized this idea in the beginning of our junior year, I want to say. And we started actually going to action with our whole campaign after winter break. So it was around December, January. We began with just an outline of what we wanted to do. We wanted to gather information and data from all over our schools. So we conducted surveys to the students and the staff to see how they felt about the water fountains at our school. We also conducted research on the various benefits of gaining these water refill stations, how they would help the environment, how they would help the health of the students, and various things like that. We eventually created I want to say 3-page proposal, and we set up a meeting with the business. What's the business name?
It was the head of maintenance.
Head of maintenance and principal, and we met with them, and basically we told them our mission statement, what we wanted to propose to them, and they told us, because we can't directly affect where the money gets funneled into. Does it go into our bathrooms? Does it go into, I don't know, our lunch or something like that? So we had to talk to the principal and the other manager, and they told us that they would use all of our information, our proposal, and propose it to the higher people who actually portion the money into and where it's going to go into schools. So we heard back from our principal in the summer around July, and he told us that he still didn't know anything, but then we waited until August, and August is when he told us that we would be getting 4 new water refill stations, and one of them was installed before we got into school, and we're still waiting on the 3 other ones to get installed throughout the school.
And very quickly, Tim, for some of us that may not know, what's the difference between a water refill station versus a water fountain?
So a water fountain, you guys see, saw a water fountain before, right? And you just press the button and all. But the water refill station, there's the one that we got, the one that we got specifically was a Halsey Taylor one, and you put your water bottle there, and there's a sensor, and you just put your water bottle there, and it automatically fills it up. And this water bottle station specifically, it has a filtration system, and it just makes the water taste better, and it's more quality refined, and that's huge.
Yeah, the machine also has a counter on the top, and it tells you how many plastic bottles you would have saved with all the water that you're getting from this fountain. So.
Christian, as you've been going to various elementary and middle schools, what has been the reception from students as you've come to speak?
Well, it's actually been a pleasure. A lot of kids that I've talked to, after I talk to them, they get really inspired. Not just them, but their parents as well. So they come up and ask me questions, and it's actually a dream come true because ever since I was little, I'm gonna tell a quick story. I grew up with a close friend, and me and him both had aspirations to become something great in the future. And sadly, he couldn't. He's alive, but he chose the wrong path, and he's incarcerated now. So being able to have the opportunity to talk to kids and just know that I'm doing at least something to help create a difference, it makes me feel good, and I hope to not only do it in this county, but do it across the world on a bigger platform, because I just want everyone to have the same opportunities, and I just want everyone to be great.
And finally, Cameron, donating 100 cases of water is no small feat. How are you getting this water transported from the metropolitan area to Michigan?
Right, so what I would love to have done is to have the water here. I would get the water myself at like a Costco or something, but because it is so expensive to order a big shipping all the way to Michigan, and especially with 100 cases, what I am planning to do is to make an online order at like a Walmart or a Costco miles away from the food bank of Eastern Michigan. So the order can go through there and I don't have to pay for that fee. But I would love to see the water myself and see it shipped off. But as long as the water is getting there and that's making a difference, I'm happy with that. And what I wanted to do, instead of just sending the food bank a check to say buy water, I wanted to physically give them water. And even the expense of paying for the shipping from the Walmart to the food bank, I'll pay that myself. I honestly don't mind, but I just want them to get water, and I don't want the money to go towards anything else that the food bank might need. And I know food is very important, but the goal was for them to get some more water for the residents of Michigan.
Thank you all for sharing your various perspectives as it pertains to children's environmental health, and thank you all, the audience, for allowing them the platform and the opportunity. This was definitely a great experience, definitely for myself, and I believe for them as well.